When you think of MMORPG games, World of Warcraft is probably the one that first comes to mind. Released in late 2004, the game has inspired movies, episodes of TV shows, and has become ingrained in popular culture.
World of Warcraft, I need to play!
Like all games, though its success could only last for so long and eventually began to die out. Until 2019, where the popularity of the game surged in ways that no one could have predicted. In today's episode of The Countdown, we're taking a look at why World of Warcraft is suddenly so popular again. Number 5. MMOs are a dying breed. When World of Warcraft first released, you couldn't move for all of the new MMOs being released. It seemed like there was a new one coming out every other week, all looking to carve out the slice of the pie that Blizzard baked with their subscription-based multiplayer world. It's a trend we see time and time again in the world of video games. One studio stumbles upon a hit new formula, and then every other game dev team tries to recreate it until people get bored. Things have changed a lot since those early days, and there aren't really that many major fantasy-based MMOs around anymore. Sure, you still have games like Final Fantasy XIV and Guild Wars 2 that pull in the big numbers, but new games in the genre are appearing less, and when they do, they aren't quite pulling the same numbers that WoW does. All this means is that World of Warcraft is being given a lot of space to itself, and as a market leader, potential new players are most definitely going to turn its way. Despite being almost 15 years old now, the game has a lot of pull on new players, purely because nothing else is really changing its dominance in the market at the moment. There aren't any major new MMOs that can stand up to the might of WoW, leaving it to mop up any and all players that want a taste of the MMO genre. Number 4. A return to the classics. If you were to try and pin down the one thing that really caused a resurgence in the popularity of Blizzard's World of Warcraft over the past year, then you need to look no further than the release of WoW Classic. In 2017, after years of battling with unofficial vanilla servers, Blizzard finally announced that they would be releasing their very own World of Warcraft Classic servers for people to play on. A return to the classics of WoW acted as a massive breath of fresh air for the players of the game and a huge nostalgia trip. The re-release of the original version of the game, completely unchanged from how it was back then. When WoW first released, the world of gaming was a very different place, a simpler place. It wasn't the first fantasy MMO to exist. EverQuest was already around by the release of WoW, and the sequel had just released, but WoW was the smoothest. WoW was polished for the most part, it worked, and it was incredibly fun and addictive. For old-school players of the game, the release of Classic offered the opportunity to dive back into those long-distant times that they probably thought that they would never get to experience again, with all the changes that have been made to WoW over the last decade and a half. For newer players, it offered the chance to experience what kickstarted the MMO revolution. For both groups, it offered something that hasn't really been experienced in gaming for years. Number 3. Classic, but supported. But one of the reasons World of Warcraft Classic is so important and has become so popular isn't just because players are getting to relive the game as it was when it first released. It's because Blizzard has a plan which is going to help the game evolve in ways it never did, even when it was originally released back in 2004. Currently, the game is set to act as if it were on patch 1.12 of the original game. This was the Drums of War patch, which was released on the 22nd of August, 2006. This patch was major because, in Blizzard's opinion, it represents the most complete version of Classic WoW. This is likely because patch 1.12 was the very last patch to be released for the true vanilla World of Warcraft. After that point, Burning Crusade was released. That's the first expansion set that was ever made for the game, introducing new areas, raids, and dungeons. It doesn't look like Blizzard quite intends to fully delve into the Burning Crusades as they release content for Classic, but it won't always stay the same as it is right now either. With the launch of Classic, players were treated to 3 major endgame dungeons: the Molten Core, Onyxia, and Maraudon. They were also allowed to engage in PvP, but there was no reward or tracking for doing so. This is not everything that was in the original World of Warcraft at the time. Instead, Blizzard will be releasing new, or should that be old, content over time in 6 different phases. This is going to keep the player base invigorated for new content over time, drawing more people in as different PvP mechanics get introduced and different late-game areas become available. While this steady release of content may worry some ardent fans of the classic game, a WoW forum community manager named Kyvax has sought to reassure people that Classic will stick true to its goals. All the Blizzard team are trying to do with this staged release of content, according to Kyvax, is recreate the original arc from when WoW first released. But despite that, changes to weapon balance, what they call progressive itemization, will not occur. items will always act how they did in the 1.12 version of the game, no matter what, retaining the classic feel of WoW Classic. Number 2. Retail was in a bad place. The biggest reason World of Warcraft Classic has marked such a major return to form for the player count and popularity of WoW is because of how many current World of Warcraft players were dissatisfied with the direction that the main retail version of the game had been taking over the past few years. Forums and message boards across the internet are filled with players complaining about World of Warcraft's newest updates, and for most, it seems like the primary issue is power creep. This is the concept that as new expansions and items are released into the WoW economy, older items and classes become outdated and less powerful than the newer items. Content, essentially, becomes irrelevant over time, and for many players, it feels like that happens quicker and quicker in recent incarnations of the game. Players have to constantly buy the new expansions, get the best weapons, and disregard any of the things that they have enjoyed from previous expansions just to stay competitive. This, of course, isn't the only reason players are feeling like the current retail of WoW doesn't quite do the game justice anymore. Players feel that leveling has no real sense of accomplishment until you reach level 120, and getting to that point with your character can often feel like a chore. This is primarily down to scaling, which makes it feel like you're never really getting any more powerful as you rise up through the levels. Then when you finally hit that 120 cap, some find it far too easy to get filled out with epics, making upgrades feel less rewarding and frustrating. The world also feels somewhat smaller than it used to. Flying on mounts is now the primary way to travel in WoW. It's quick and easy. You didn't have that option in Classic WoW, and the world felt much larger as a result. Combined with how many expansions there have been now, this may have also had a seriously negative effect on the sense of community in the game. World of Warcraft is so vast now, in terms of dungeons and things to do, that people just pop in and out of Group Finder without even saying a word. The experience is very different from what it used to be. So when Classic came along promising to take things back to a simpler time of WoW, it was no real surprise that those who were so disappointed with where their game was, or who had given up and moved on, came running back to give the game another try. Number 1. Twitch is all over it. It seems that, in 2019, the one way we measure the success of a game isn't really its player count anymore. It's how much attention the game ends up getting on Twitch and YouTube. These content-sharing platforms aren't just a great way to judge the success of games, they can help fuel that success, which is likely something we've seen in the case of WoW. WoW made its resurgence at a very interesting time for Twitch. The last thing we've seen completely dominate viewership on Twitch has been the ever-popular Fortnite Battle Royale. But recently, Epic Games have made a series of missteps so large that players have been abandoning Fortnite in droves, causing the game to record some of its lowest all-time numbers on streaming sites. If something was going to make a move to try and become the top of the Twitch streaming pile, then this was the perfect time to do it. Stream Elements reported that there had been an 83% jump in World of Warcraft Twitch viewership in August, which was largely driven by two things: the release of WoW Classic and the success of a streamer called Asmongold, who even managed to unseat the Fortnite streamer Tfue as the most watched channel on Twitch for the month. Many streamers often try to play the next big thing on the site, a solid move to try and pick up as many viewers as possible. So when it was seen that Asmongold, a streamer who had been playing and streaming WoW for years, had suddenly taken the top spot, it's unsurprising that this acted as a pull for many other streamers. World of Warcraft isn't the most viewed thing on Twitch at the moment. The top two spots still go to Just Chatting and League of Legends respectively, but it managed to knock Fortnite Battle Royale out of the top 3, pulling in 14.2 million watch hours as compared to Fortnite's 11.7 million watch hours in the week of September 16th to September 22nd. Will Classic's staggered content release be enough to keep up with Fortnite, especially with Season 11 and a potential brand new map for the game just around the corner? Time will tell, but the fact of the matter is, Twitch viewership has managed to help grow World of Warcraft in ways that Blizzard likely never even saw coming. Well, that's a wrap on our video covering the 5 reasons World of Warcraft is popular again. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for even more awesome gaming content. And hey, check out these other videos while you're here. You'll love them, we promise.
Dude, you definitely saw me drop at the volcano. What are you doing all the way out here?
Getting mats and guns, silly.
What? Where did you get that?
In the junkyard. Nothing left over there, pal, except for a common pistol under a rusty Honda.
Ah!
Ooh, ketchup.
Until next time, later.